Welcome back to Bama Network. I'm Caitlin Heffler.
I'm Jade Saylor.
And, wow, it's been quite a while, but as you can see, we're back, and we have our new shirts along with a red one that we posted on Twitter and Instagram, and then we also have another one that you guys will be seeing and some new posts. What a better way to start the new year and our first video in the new year after that basketball game last night.
Can't think of a better way. I mean, I feel like we just won the national championship.
But in basketball. Are we a basketball school?
Basketball school.
So last night we played Auburn, who was ranked number 4. And, I mean, what a game. I was shocked from the start that we actually pulled off a win.
I was shocked that we led the entire game. We never once let them get ahead of us.
You're right.
And not to be that person, but the whole time I just kept waiting. I was like, it's going to get to the very end. We're going to lead the whole game, and then something's going to happen. They're going to come back.
And we're going to get, killed.
And
it
never happened.
Yeah.
And I was just really surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised.
Well, all over Twitter and stuff, too, like the days before, everyone was saying Alabama will upset Auburn,
it's like
and we'll put up a good
it.
fight. And I was like, I think we'll put up a good fight if we play well. But I did not think in any way that we were going to pull off such a big win, a 19-point win.
Yeah, I didn't expect it at all. I thought maybe if we did win, like, a very close game, like, down to the buzzer beater.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was really surprised.
And, I mean, we won this game because we did what Coach Oates wanted us to do. We rebounded. We made our shots. I think we do need to work on our threes, but we were definitely making them this game, at least some.
Right, yeah.
And along with our free throws.
We were
free
making
throws.
Them. Since when do we make free throws like this?
Yeah.
We shot 78% from the free throw line. It just seemed like every time we were at the line, we made them. It was incredible.
I think that we really did make as many shots as possible, and I mean that is how you win. Of course,
take advantage
every
of
game,
every shot we took.
Yeah, but we were just making those shots. Our rebounds were great.
Yes,
and I think that we also kept up with our endurance throughout the game. It's like I didn't think that we got as tired.
No, I think every game that builds up more and more. It's like they get more comfortable with the running back and forth.
Well, and it was surprising how much we didn't substitute. We did here and there to give some players some breathers,
not for long.
And I mean the endurance, I was just really shocked about that. Along with that, we were playing very physical. Yes. Auburn was definitely a physical team, and it was a very high fouling game.
So much credit to Herb Jones. The defense he played, he really disrupted that Auburn offense. He had a great defensive game, and he is noted to be our best defensive player, but he really showed why last night.
And I think that Reese has really improved over the season. Last night, he was literally one of our key players.
He was knocking down some shots.
I mean, he was making 3-pointers. He was playing also super physical along with a lot of the other players.
And bearing injury, he's been in and out of games ever since the season started with injury, and he left again. You saw him riding the bike. He came back in. He got very hurt, and then he left the game. I wasn't sure if he was going to come back in, and he comes back in not even just a couple minutes later with a knee brace on. This game was emotional. Obviously, it's a rival. Obviously, they were 15-0, so the motivation was higher, and I think maybe that's why the endurance level was stronger. They just had an extra oomph in their system. They really wanted to be this team. You could tell. Yeah. They played with heart. They always do. This team is so fun to watch.
I think that I enjoy watching them because it's literally an improvement every single game.
Yes.
But this game especially, it was literally like I was watching a completely different team.
Yeah.
It's amazing what Coach Oates and this team have worked on.
Incredible.
Whatever goes on behind the scenes is just,
it's
working.
The effort from the guys, amazing. Oates is doing an incredible job. We all know that. But like you were saying with how little we substituted last night, what Oates is working with and how he has improved these players from the beginning, we're out. Javon Quinterly still not eligible with the NCAA. James Rojas and Juan Gary with the injury. That's 3 very key players that he doesn't have to work with, and he has took what he has and turned this team into something that I don't think anybody thought they were going to see this early in the season.
You know, when Reese got injured and he was going off the field to get going off the court to get some rehab, you know, they all shook hands, and it seemed like he was giving his remaining energy that he had, to his team.
This team's very supportive of each other.
And another thing that I liked was one huge foul that was not called. Nate Oates and the rest of the coaches obviously were really upset about that. And I saw Beetle go over and he was just trying to like calm down Coach Oates. And I just think that's so important to like, you can see the team is very personal with each other and so supportive of each other. And obviously, that's what makes a good team, is having each other's backs.
Yes. And honestly, I feel like that is something that Alabama basketball hasn't had in a long time, because I feel like you could see the differences in these players when they try to play together. Mm-hmm. This team is close. Like, this is a bond, and it shows on the court, and it helps. It's really helped them improve this year.
I think they are... from last night's game, I think they're really gaining momentum, like, with each other, and they've learned
from each other
what works and what doesn't. It just seems like everything was so fluid, and it was literally like I watched a different team.
Yeah, every single game it's a different. And when we watched Florida, we obviously didn't go to Florida, we watched at home, but it was like the first half, it's like, this is a new team, this is great, and then somehow we come and we blow a 21-point lead. Yeah, it was an away game, but blowing a 21-point lead should never happen, no matter where you are, who you're playing. Mm-hmm. But it was just like, I kept expecting that to happen last night, and it never did. This team just stayed consistently scoring, playing good defense, getting rebounds, just really blown out of the water.
And, you know, the game of basketball, it's a super fast-paced sport. You don't get a breather. There's not a lot of substitutions when you have your best players on the court because you want to beat a team like Auburn. And so it's so important to rebound, like Nate Oates said, and to also make every single shot that you can possibly make. And I can say that we did that last night.
Yes.
I was shocked by just some of the balls they just threw up, and I'm like, they just magically went in, and they didn't look like they would.
And that's just a style of play that Nate Oates has approached them with this year. It's just any open shots, take all the shots, and it's working because they're falling. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get, like, we have much higher scoring games than we have had in the past, and just the faster up and down the court. And every single game, like you said, like, we're improving, the endurance is improving, and it's paying off. I mean, I think at the beginning, after the tournament they played in the Bahamas, I'm pretty sure everybody was thinking that the chances of making the NCAA tournament was just not happening, and we didn't really have a chance. And now, it's possible. This team is coming, like, in the SEC and in the nation. Like, obviously, we climbed, 14 spots in the net rankings just after last night. And how many total in the
52.
In the past, 5 games?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's impressive.
Well, and I think also the players talked about in the beginning of the season that, you know, they were being challenged adapting to Coach Oates' way that he wanted to play the game, which is fast-paced, and obviously, that is the way to win games.
Yes.
But I think that they really were still struggling with it for a while, for a few games, because, I mean, endurance is something you have to work on. It's not just achieved overnight, you know, but they must have been really putting in work, because last night, I mean, even at the end of the game, I was like, it looks like they could keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
a while.
I think it was just emotion, got it. And so hopefully that they'll feed off of that emotion and just use it to push through the rest of the season.
I'm really excited to watch what continues to happen, and I hope that I think that if they continue to play the way they did last night, they have a very promising future.
Yes.
Like this season, next season, I think that obviously Nate Oates' style of play is what our team needed, for sure. And I think what every team needs.
So just like a little bit of stats from last night. As we were saying, Alex Reese had an incredible game, had 13 points. Kyron Lewis Jr., the kid showed us exactly why he is being talked about for the NBA draft this year. He had an incredible game. He played his butt off. He always plays the most minutes out of anyone. Anytime Alabama loses, the fans attack him. They want to go for Kyra, and you can't do that. He plays the whole game. I mean, he is our most important, valuable player. He had 25 points last night. I didn't hear any slander on him after that game. John Petty only had 7 points, but he still had an incredible game. He had a great defensive game. Jaden Shackelford had 9 points. Herb Jones had 14 points, and you have to give him some credit. He has changed his offensive game a lot just in the past couple of games. Beetle Bolden had 11 points. Javion Davis had 1 point, and Galen Smith had 3 points. Bama shot 42% from the field goal, 28% three-pointers, and 78% free throws, like we said earlier. Just a huge improvement in free throws. Auburn out-rebounded us 43-41, so not much of a difference there. Auburn had 21 turnovers, and we only had 15, so the turnovers are improving as well. Right. And we held Auburn to 31% from the field, so just incredible stats compared to what we saw just a few weeks ago.
So we're going to wrap up on basketball. Our next game is this Saturday at Coleman Coliseum. Again, we are playing Missouri. And so show up for that. The student section was insane.
Can we just talk about the atmosphere last night in the game in general?
People were saying, I heard rumors that teachers were telling students to get to the Coleman at 4:30.
I believe it. Well, the doors opened at 6:30, and I'm pretty sure they stopped letting students in at 7. Yeah. I had class until 6:45, and I was sprinting. I don't know how I got in, but I barely made it. So.
Well, and I think the students definitely wanted to get those hard hats. So let's talk about the hard hats. Why were hard hats being given to the first 500 students that entered Coleman? Well, it's because Nate Oates and the team have adopted the idea and the perspective that they want to be like blue-collar workers. Mm-hmm. That is their theme. And he says, when we take the court, when we get on the court, we're going onto the work site. And I love that.
I do too.
I think that's
very creative.
Very. So I love that perspective. And, I mean, they definitely did show up on that work site last night.
Yeah.
And so did our student section. The entire student section was filled.
Yes.
500 kids wearing hard hats throughout the game.
A sight to see, especially after the game. Walking out and just imagine not knowing about this event and just seeing 500 random people. They all wore them out of the game in white hard hats. It was hilarious. If you missed it, I'm so sorry. But the crowd in general, this is the first time in so long that I've seen outside of the student section fans interacting so much, standing up, cheering, yelling. The crowd was just incredible, and it obviously, as Nate Oates said, impacted the game so much.
Yeah.
So please show up Saturday. If you guys show up every game that you can, because it makes a difference. So Saturday, they want everyone to wear white. This past game, it was wear crimson. You guys did it. It looked amazing. Just do it again. Do it this Saturday. Do it next Wednesday. Keep doing it, and we'll keep winning.
And it was so cool to see how much the players appreciated the student section throughout the entire game. I think that we really helped pump them up and keep them going. After the game, there was talk about students storming the court, and they're like, no, we're not going to do that for Auburn. We're not. We don't do that.
We don't do that.
And instead, the players storm the student section.
They do. They really, the first thing they do after a win is they always go to the student section and celebrate and just appreciate the student section for doing what they do.
So I think that, they have shown us their hard work. And I think we need to show them. Yeah, I think we owe it to them as well. And I think that they will continue to play with how they played last night.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to the game on Saturday.
Just like as you were saying with the endurance and the energy and the effort, I mean that comes off the crowd too. When it's silent in there, no one has motivation to run up and down the court for 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. When you guys are in there yelling, stomping, making it fun, making it entertaining, and pumping them up, that helps them too with just game time. Speaking of showing up for these athletes, tomorrow night, which will be today when you guys are watching this video at 7:45. Alabama Gymnastics will take on Oklahoma in Coleman. Show up, pack the gym, show these girls that you support them after coming off of their loss to Auburn. For those of you that keep up with Alabama Gymnastics, you know that doesn't happen often. Mm-hmm. Support them to rebound and have a great rest of the season after that, and hopefully they will come out strong with a win against Oklahoma Friday.
And they will also be signing autographs before the meet, so try to show up early and get to meet these amazing girls. Also, our Alabama softball team was chosen as the preseason SEC favorite for this season. So, super excited to also start reporting on them.
Yes.
Along with baseball.
Things to come for Team 24. Also, back to Auburn, our women's basketball team beat Auburn 75-48 last week. So, for a combined 46-point win with men and women's basketball over Auburn this week. Coming up this weekend, the 17th through the 19th, is UCA and UDA Cheer and Dance Nationals that Alabama cheerleading and dance team will be competing in. This is a huge accomplishment for them that they won back in 2015 and haven't taken the title since. So I'm not asking you guys to get down there to Orlando, but just, support these girls, and hopefully that they'll bring home the championship again.
All right, now let's talk about that national championship game.
Whoops.
Okay, so obviously LSU versus Clemson at the national championship game. Wow, I mean, it started off as a big surprise, in my opinion. We were talking before the game, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like I want LSU to win. I think they will win, but I just have this weird feeling that Clemson might win now.
It's hard not to have that feeling when Clemson is Clemson. It's kind of like when Alabama makes the playoffs. Like, they've been there before. They've won this multiple times. So, of course you're going to have that. Well, they have that it factor in your head. But
well, I think when we first started, Clemson was proving that they were going to win. They were going to be the next national champion.
That defense. I mean, LSU's offense really had to alter their game plan to get through.
They could barely run a few yards. Clemson was reading every single play, reading them so well. Their speed. Then LSU completely just flipped.
Yes, I mean, we have to acknowledge the jokes that were coming at the beginning of this first quarter. Will LSU ever cross the 50-yard line in NOLA in the Superdome? Because, as we all know, they didn't in 2011. But, once they figured out that game plan, there was no stopping that offense.
They were aggressive, up-tempo, on both sides of the ball, though. Yeah. That's how they won.
Yes.
And not just by a few points. By a good amount.
Yeah, I mean...
Which was a shock from the start of the game.
Absolutely.
But obviously it proves how great of a team they are since they could make that switch so fast.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Clemson's defense, I feel like, was still doing everything they could. It's just, you can't stop that offense on LSU's offense. But Trevor Lawrence was just not... We were talking before we started filming this episode, and he had the game of his life against Alabama in the national championship last year. Had the whole nation convinced he was the best player in college football, the next Heisman Trophy winner, and then here comes Joe Burrow this year out of nowhere. Tua gets injured, wins the Heisman. All this talk about Trevor Lawrence fades away, but I mean, if you watched him in the national championship this year versus last year, it's almost like watching a completely different player. He's still insanely talented and will get drafted extremely high, but he was just overthrowing receivers and just almost looked a little bit rattled, which is really unusual for him.
And I mean, he finally lost. And he hasn't lost since like middle school or something. So, I mean, feel bad for him, but
yeah, I mean, great guy.
Along with LSU, just as a team, being led by Coach O. And like I've said before, I really admire Coach O. I mean,
I do too.
He really started from the bottom and, coached for multiple teams. Then he went back and interned for USC. Mm-hmm. And then here he is winning the national championship.
Yeah. What an incredible story.
Along with Joe Burrow, I think I would say that they're kind of similar. Yeah. I mean, Joe sat 3 seasons.
On the depth chart, behind 2 other players. He wasn't even the backup.
And now he's breaking records, and he's considered one of the best,
if not the best,
quarterback
of college football.
Yes.
And even talk on LSU being the greatest team to ever play a history of college football. Well, I mean, when you look at their record, the teams they beat, the stats, the records they broke, I mean, they're up there.
What do you think about LSU for next season? Do you think that they are going to be able to make it this far? Do you think they're going to win? Do you think they won't ever be good again? I mean,
I'm not going to say ever good again. Next year is going to be really, really different for them. They have Coach O. Mm-hmm. They just lost Joe Brady back to the NFL. Dave Aranda just got hired today as head coach at Baylor, so there goes their offensive play caller and their defensive coordinator. Their quarterback's going to the NFL. Clyde Edwards-Helaire just declared for the NFL. There's their running back. Grant Delpit was one of the best safeties in the nation, just declared for the NFL. Justin Jefferson, great wide receiver, just declared. I could go on with the players that declared yesterday from LSU. They're losing everybody on the player side and the coach's side. They are going to be really struggling to rebuild next year. And honestly, that's welcome to the big leagues, LSU, because every time we have a good season, that is exactly what happens to us. We lose multiple players to the draft, multiple coaches get offered higher coaching jobs, and it's just like you have to restart. So it'll be interesting to see how Coach O takes this opportunity to rebuild a program with his own recruiting classes and new coaches. So, I mean, who knows? They might surprise us, but I think it'll be a really different year than what we just saw for them.
I think in general it's going to be a very different year for many college teams. So I'm excited to see what next season will bring. All right, so let's get down to some stats. Burrow finished the game with 463 yards on 31 of 49 passing, totaling 6 touchdowns with no turnovers. Like we said, he had an incredible game. He, like I said, he set national title game records for passing yards and touchdowns. And in the media a lot, he's being compared to Joe Montana because of his incredible footwork and his incredible arm and accuracy. I can't say enough about Joe Burrow. I think so much of him as a player on and off the field.
Yes.
He, I think, is outstanding, and I think he'll do well in the NFL.
Me too.
I think so do I. I think that it's going to be different for him in the NFL, but I'm really looking forward to him. I am Joe Burrow fan.
Me too. And you heard a lot of people at the beginning of the game like, oh, LSU, this is what happens when you face a real defense. Because they were getting stopped, they couldn't make the play. I mean, he figured it out pretty fast, and then you see what happened. So I think he is going to be just fine in the NFL. Okay, just for kicks and giggles, we have to talk about, after the national championship, former LSU player and current Cleveland Browns player Odell Beckham Jr. was seen publicly in front of the camera passing out cash to these players. And he's not always the smartest, brightest person to do things in the media, but, I mean, come on, that is a straight NCAA violation. To do it on national television is one thing, and then from that, it was just like one thing after another with the police, and I don't know, it just seemed a little bit messy after the game, but the players now, the nicotine age is 21. A lot of players under the age of 21, obviously in college, were smoking cigars in the locker room. The cops came in to ruin their party, which, in my opinion, was just wrong on their part. I mean, you just won the national championship.
Give them a
You're
break.
going to arrest them.
Let them celebrate.
So Odell Beckham Jr. slaps the cop on the butt to distract him. Not the best method for distracting a cop. And now has a warrant out for his arrest, which is just entertaining way to end that night, honestly.
What a way to live your first few hours as a national champion.
Truly
Can't say I would want that. Or anyone.
I couldn't imagine that happening in our locker room. I mean, I don't know. It'd be
I don't think
interesting
Saban
to
would
think
let that
about
happen.
that. No.
I mean, I hope not.
Well, now that actually makes me wonder, from now on, when we play Tennessee, the winning team does smoke cigars in the locker room, so are the cops going to come in and arrest our players?
I hope not.
Speaking of our players, should we talk a little bit about who's entering the NFL draft and who's staying? It's been the big hot topic up until just this past week, so why not mention it?
Well, why don't we start off with Tua? I mean, before the last episode we talked about our predictions. I can quite honestly say that I was shocked when he declared. And as for the press conference, there was a lot of talk about, what does this press conference mean? And you thought that it was because he was declaring, which obviously was correct.
Yes.
But I think because Tua is also such a looked at player and such an important player in college football, I feel like it's important for him to have this conference also to give his story and to present his opinions, because we know how much the media changes. All the players
were, could have had a press conference. Nick Saban could have went on with them. No one else chose to. They all did a social media. And at the beginning, that's what Tua was supposed to do. They announced he would be announcing on that Monday, just to watch for social media. The minute he said he was having a press conference is when I changed my mind, and I was like, oh, he's going to declare.
Smart thinking, though.
And I was like, I just don't see him holding a press conference to announce that he's coming back. And she was like, well, he loves interacting with the media. I still think he's coming back, and I wanted him to come back, but I just didn't think he was. But up until that moment when he announced, I thought he was going to come back next year.
Well, and it's been announced that in April he will be throwing. I think that once you face a lot of injuries, you are obviously injury prone and will continue to get injured. So what does that mean for him in the NFL? You know, he's starting in the NFL already injured and coming off injuries. And I mean, I think that he will receive the best rehab possible. Yeah. But I think that's always going to be something he's going to struggle with. And
he's
people are going to be worried about.
Been injury prone ever since high school. Lucky for him, though, I do feel like NFL quarterbacks are way more protected than college quarterbacks.
Good point.
You can't touch Tom Brady without getting a fine, $250,000. So hopefully they give Tua the same treatment.
Point. Yeah.
And, I mean, I wish him the best. So the next biggest key player that's actually returning, I would say, is Dylan Moses. I think this might be a personal opinion, but I think his return was actually more important than Tua's after the way we saw the defense last year with 2 freshmen at linebacker, a new defensive coordinator, really no leader on the team, especially on defense. His return really makes this team because we know Mac Jones is capable. We know Bryce Young is talented. We have Tua's brother, Leah, that could be 3rd string, 2nd string, whatever. We're going to be fine at quarterback without Tua. It's Dylan that's going to make the difference on defense. So I'm thrilled to have him back. I would have took him over anyone that could have returned.
I completely agree. I think that after this entire season, we've seen that we obviously need some work on defense. Yes. And I think that he will be a great help for our team.
Obviously, we have heard all season everyone wants Pete Golding fired, get a new defensive coordinator. Well, it's middle of January. He's still here, so you know, get ready. We're going to have him. Yeah. So, you know, I say give him another year. If Saban thinks that he deserves another year, you know, I trust him. Yeah. And so maybe with Dylan Moses and a more experienced defense, he'll be our only senior next year. So hopefully he'll have more to work with and we'll have better success.
This week, it was just announced that Najee Harris was returning. And I'm going to be honest, I was shocked. Yeah. Very surprised.
Me too.
But I was honestly shocked about him returning, but I mean, when I think about it, I think that it was the smartest decision for sure.
Yeah, the depth in this running back class entering the draft. Najee is, 6th at best. Yeah. And so even if he can't improve his game, I feel like he really showed his true, full potential this season. So if that can't be improved, at least he's not going to have to go with Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, and so on. Hopefully, I mean, that helps us out at the quarterback position, run the ball. We have a deep backfield now. So it'll be interesting to see if we have any other running backs enter the transfer portal after we just had Jerome Ford. He will be at Cincinnati next year. Also, some other players that are returning that will make a huge impact next year. Alex Leatherwood, offensive lineman, will be back. He was actually the first to announce. Super excited about that. Devontae Smith will be back. Obviously huge. Joshua McMillan got cleared by the NCAA to return for his 6th year. And someone really not getting talked about is Landon Dickerson. So he has announced he will be back, which was expected. But we did have, like we said, Tua, Xavier McKinney, Jedrick Wills, and Henry Ruggs declare for the draft. So we wish them the best.
All right, so that's all for this episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. Our first one of the 2020 year, and we're super excited for all that's to come this year. I'm Caitlin Heffler.
I'm Jade Saylor. Roll Tide.